It is your favorite weekend show, Weekend Deal, coming to you from the network service of the NTA. This weekend, our focus has been on the 18 age minimum required for entry into Nigerian universities. Oh yes, there's a lot of reactions have trailed the decision. The discussion is not over yet because more experts are joining the conversation. My name is Patience Eloy Abba, and the beautiful Queen Thelma is regularly waiting. You look amazing, girl. Good morning.
Oh, just like you too, my darling sister. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
This matter of education is so key because I often ask myself, were we not to have termed it education, which is a dictionary definition, what would we call formal and informal learning?
Oh, yeah.
We've also got to learn that what we even learn outside of the classroom, outside of the roofed enclosure is also as vital, if not more so, than what we learn in the classroom. We are very enlightened, we are excited and enthusiastic to be a part or the recipients of a governance that cares. Government listens, government understands, government discerns. And we can take that and say boldly, because we heard the Honorable Minister of State Education, Honorable Dr. Sununu, say yesterday that after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu heard what Nigerians were taking away from the enforcement of the 18-year minimum age requirement for tertiary entrant, he said, let's hold it a bit. Let's bring all stakeholders to the table and let us reason together. It's Weekend Deal, your favorite breakfast television program, and the one you just cannot afford to miss. Now, I know you have your thoughts, your opinions, your experiences. Please weigh into this discussion. Are you a parent, a guardian, or a student? Are you below 18 or above? Are you looking to get into the tertiary institution? Have you already got your admission? This is the center for you to talk. Please, come on Weekend Deal. Our number will flash across the screen as usual. We want you to be a part of our conversation as we set the tone with our background feature today. We are asking ourselves, and you too, what is the impact of this policy in the long run? How do we compare with international standards? But our background feature, done by Francis, will tell us more. Francis, come on in.
The minimum age requirement for university admission has long been a subject of debate, particularly the 18-year threshold, which is applied in many educational systems globally. The requirement that students be at least 18 years old for university admission is rooted in the belief that this is the age of adulthood, where individuals are deemed capable of handling academic rigors and the independence associated with tertiary education. However, this policy can have varying long-term consequences.
The idea of 18 years is not a new policy entirely. It's been there, but as the world gravitates towards civilization and with the increasing competition among generations, we found out that younger people appear to be leaving the secondary school level to the university. And the federal government appears to have relaxed that policy over the time, the 6334 system. If you calculate it based on the federal government standard of the progression of pupil and students in school, you find out that students are expected to leave secondary school at about 17 and a half years. So add and drop, it is still going to fall within the 18 years. However, that policy was relaxed. And the reason for that is that it appears as if globalization also took its turn in the Nigerian educational sector. Curiously, the federal government came up with that policy, that maybe to revitalize what was in existence. But I think that it has been overtaken by time, and there is no need for the government to take us backward, because what we know as at now is that times have changed. That policy is subject to review, and instead of sticking to it, federal government should rather review it.
Maturity and readiness play significant roles in determining a student's success at university. An 18-year-old is generally considered to have the necessary cognitive development to engage with the abstract and critical thinking required in higher education. However, readiness for university is not solely a function of age, but of social, emotional, and academic preparation.
If you want to say what are the good reasons behind this policy, students in the university these days appear to be really, you find out that juvenile delinquency in the university appear to have increased. Certain social misdemeanor that ordinarily wouldn't have been the in thing in our tertiary education have become very common. Reason because younger people are getting to the university, to the tertiary institution. Most of the people getting to school appears to have lost the gap between self-consciousness and the willingness to face the challenges that exist in the university or in the tertiary institution. Some of them suddenly find out that they are free in that environment where their parents or their guardians are no longer there. And of course, too much freedom leads to freedom. And so they tend to exercise that freedom in excess. And then that lands them in cultism, lands them in all forms of financial crimes, and any other crimes that are practicable within the tertiary institution level. Now, I think that the federal government wants to curtail that by insisting that if you are not 18, you should not. Because at 18, some level of self-consciousness should have grown in you, and you'll be able to take some important decisions for and against. Now, if you look at the disadvantage to it, it's like if you decide to increase the age, what you're invariably saying is that you are reducing the competition that would ordinarily have endeared between people of equal age globally. And that is not too fair, because Nigeria is not existing in isolation. It is a global village. And where that is the situation, people should be allowed to compete favorably according to their strength and their intellectual capacity.
In many countries like the United States, there is no strict minimum age requirement for university admission. While students typically enter university between 17 and 18, exceptions are made for gifted students who can enroll earlier. In countries like the United Kingdom, students also generally enter university at 18 after completing secondary school, but age exceptions exist for exceptional academic cases.
In the UK, we've had somebody of 24 being a professor of mathematics. We had people of 12 years being in the university in the same UK. I mean, you are judged based on what you can churn out, what you can deliver.
Ultimately, the success of this policy will depend on its implementation and the support structures available to students during the waiting period.
First, to the government, fix all other issues that militate against academic progression. One, let us be sure that when students get admission to university for 4 years, they are going to do 4 years.
Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on the 18-year minimum age requirement for university admission.
Thank you so much, Francis Ogbe, for setting the tone correctly. Now, what is the implication of this decision or implementing this decision on the institutions themselves? NTA Sokoto will tell us.
Preparation to qualify for admission into tertiary level is always the focus of final year secondary school students. The new 18-year minimum age policy in Nigeria becomes another requirement candidates have to meet for entry into university. It is about the beginning of academic calendar for some universities, and adapting to the policy may require some logistical changes.
Our admission exercise is on. and we have adapted to the government policy, and we are really trying as much as possible to admit on the basis of the policy.
We admit students solely on JAMB caps, and then by the time this policy has been fully adopted, the JAMB will automatically restrict anybody who is under 18. So there is no way we can admit student who is a candidate who is under 18, because he will never be in the JAMB caps already.
Such adjustments resulting from the age limit policy can make impact on educational institutions.
If the number of students that are going to be affected is much, then that will affect the number of enrollment, and that would affect university revenues, and that will force universities to have to change some of their laws and review some of their policies as well, in terms of admission, graduation, as well as the university timetable in general.
The new policy expects a child to start primary school at the age of 6, enter into secondary at 12, and then university at 18 years of age.
Now when a child don't go to nursery and proceed maybe at the age 5 or 6 to go to primary school, you can hardly detect his graduation or terminating education at SS level by the age of 18 years. He may graduate at the age of 16 or 17, as the case may be, and there is nothing wrong with that. It goes with both mental and physical development. Some children may be in SS3 and preparing for tertiary admissions, and yet their mental development will not be cope, and they may not have the ability to cope with tertiary institution program. I hope you get me. So it's a two-way.
Another way, it will affect some students who are exceptionally brilliant, who could have the intellectual requirement to get into university below the age of 18. Such students could be frustrated. They could be made to feel, sort of like treated unfairly by the system.
You can't just allow your child to finish at the age of 16 and you keep this child at home. Keep the child for how many years before going further studies? The brain will weak. At the same time, it can develop the child to another thing else.
Some limitations notwithstanding, 18-year age limit policy is expected to discourage some irregularities.
We have this concept of tiger moms in Asia, mothers who are sort of like very hard on their kids to accelerate, to progress in life. And we have that version in Nigeria, and this, like, if I call them overzealous, quote unquote, there are parents that behave that way, in that similar fashion. They simply want their kids to jump the stages that they ideally should follow through to reach certain levels of attainment in life. These parents would force their kids to skip classes in primary school, classes in secondary school, and they equally organize for them to write examinations before they reach the age at which they are supposed to write officially. Such parents will have to bear with this law, because this law is here to checkmate their excesses.
With the new 18-year minimum age requirement for university admission in Nigeria, provision has to be made to cater for exceptional children who are intellectually fit for admission into university below the age of 18.
Interesting views there from Sokoto, very enlightening. We already have heard from the Honorable Minister that there will be a level playing field in terms of allowing everyone to contribute in the conversation. He did say that a final decision is in the process. This is a work in progress, but let's talk more as we invite experts to weigh into this very engaging conversation. Perhaps that's why Abigail Alama says that education cannot be attained by chance. In fact, she qualifies it as learning. She said it must be sought with ardor and attended to with diligence. Perhaps people of the opinion that under 18s cannot handle such. Let's welcome our first guest today, Professor Yakubu Aboki Ochefu, Secretary General, Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities. We'll see his profile.
You're most welcome to Weekend Studio, sir.
Thank you and good morning.
Okay.
Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's cut right to the chase. 18-year minimum requirement for entry into Nigerian universities. What is your personal reaction to that?
At two levels.
Okay.
The first is that a lot of the conversation that is going on completely ignores the historical circumstances of this policy.
Okay.
How far back this policy has been with us, how it emerged, and how we got to where we are today. Second perspective is that because of the gap between the origins of this policy and where we are now, it's important, just like the minister said, that we need to revisit and rethink the entire circumstance so that we can all be on the same page because of dramatic changes in the nature and character of educational delivery processes globally and locally. So that will be my opening salvo.
Okay, good
yes.
one. Yesterday, one of our guests, Pastor Dr. Mrs. Ijoma, spoke extensively with emotion, perhaps because she's a parent as well as a guardian. You know, nowadays, many parents are also assisting their less privileged relatives and perhaps looking at the financial aspect of keeping children at home when they finish secondary school education. And she was of the opinion that government is good to talk, very interesting, especially the policy is not new. It's been there, but it has not been enforced to the point where many were aware. So we have already allowed children go through secondary school and they finished at 14, 15, 16. And then now we want to start the gatekeeping. She said, okay, it's fine. But shouldn't government first off place them in a structured and well-regulated skill acquisition program, as well as give them a stipend per month? She said that's what most guardians and parents would appreciate. What is your take on that?
Permit me to give that perspective, because that will help in answering the type of emotions and sentiments and perspectives that are emerging currently today. It will surprise Nigerians to know that this policy dates back to 1969, when the first policy on curriculum development in Nigeria took place. Then the Minister of Education was a gentleman called Wanike Briggs under Gowon's administration. So, and at that point, that was the first time since we got independence that stakeholders came together to have a conversation on what type of educational philosophy do we need as a nation? What type of curriculum do we need as a nation? Where are the teachers going to come from? Who is going to teach what? Because before that time, every state and region had its own educational policy. So it was the first time that we were consolidating that. And it was not until 1978 or thereabout that the policy document now emerged, you know, that gave birth to the Nigerian National Policy on Education that has gone through a review process over the years. It was from that curriculum conference in 1969 and the policy on education that we now got the 6334 system that was then modified in 2008 to the 934 system that we are currently adopting. A lot of people forget that there's a 934 system, that came after the 6334 system since 2008, So, because of 1969 to date is well over 50 years.
Yes.
So when you have an educational a curriculum development process and an educational policy process that has gone up over the years, it is important for you to see, to take a step back and say, okay, how have we fared over the years? What have been our challenges? Because ab initio, the policies have not really been properly implemented, like so many other things that have happened in Nigeria. We have had policy somersaults, policy shifts, very, very poor policy implementation. That is why we insist that once things like this come up, the historical context must be interrogated to let us know how we got to where we are. I've argued on several platforms that after 50 years plus, it is important that we have a national rethink on the philosophy of education in this country.
Okay.
So that is one side of my submission. The other side of the submission is that against the backdrop of major transformations in terms of technology, learning experiences, learning analytics, the role that technology has been applied to all forms of technology from kindergarten to university. Enforcing the policy of 18 years actually will mean nothing to some people who want to take advantage of technology. For example, you have all manner of online education platforms. A child can sit and write online examinations across the board and use those certifications, what we call micro-credentials, to get a job, have a skill, and go and do so many things.
Are you answering the second question?
Yes, I'm trying to dovetail to the second question, So it is important because of that reality, that with technology these days, you don't even need to go to a formal educational setting. And even if you were to go to a formal educational setting, you can go to a formal educational setting outside the shores of this country using technology. So we must rethink and revisit where we are in terms of the realities of what technology has done to our educational system globally and locally, and some of the policies that we have been using that needs to be revisited so that
even the students, the people who are learning now have also changed.
Of course, the millennials, yes.
A 16-year-old in 20 years ago is different from a 16-year-old now.
Absolutely, because I like to say this, that when we went to school, I went to university at the age of 18. I attended the University of Calabar. And when we went to school, between our lecturers' notes and the library, that was the only source of knowledge and information that we had.
Internet, there's an explosion of knowledge.
On multiple devices, the education is at your fingertips. So that is the reality of our existence.
The capacity of these young people
has also changed. So we need to put all this together. And do the type of thing that our nation did in 1969, where we had a major policy summit on the philosophy of education.
Prof, it is time for our second break. Prof is still here, so don't go away.
It's your effervescent breakfast television program. We reach you on Saturdays and Sundays only on the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, just like today. Thank you for your messages. Please keep them coming in. We're further going to get our conversation enriched as we have our next guest who has just joined us. Please, let's together meet, greet, and welcome. First, with her profile, Dr. Miriam Bello, proprietress of Hamizak Montessori Academy and Hamizak Montessori High School in Abuja. Her profile is next.
Dr. Yasin, you're welcome to We Can Deal. So the conversation was already heating up. Prof had given us a historical background, where we are coming from and why we are here. And that's the point you came in. But let me start like I started with Prof. Yes. What is your opinion? What do you think? What is your reaction to this 18-year minimum age for entry into Nigerian university? What do you think about it personally?
Thank you for having me. Well, it has its own good side and the other side of it. For the good side, it makes the child to be matured and knows why he's going to that school. Because if they are not matured, they could be lured into various vices in the school at their tender age. But then, it makes them to have this preparedness. At least they get prepared, they are motivated, they know that at that age, they can go into the school and then perform wonderfully. The school will go through them, they will go through the school, and probably they can be, maybe they have been cancelled, gone through the counselor in the school, who told them, who told them the areas they could be better off. They must have acquired some skill, even if they have gone through some of this training. Because in those days when we go to school, when we were in school, there was no practical training like the Montessori method now, where you will touch, feel, and then see the apparatus that you work with. But then, the other side of it is like you are trying to disenfranchise the gifted child. So some of them who are young but very, very intelligent, their IQ is high. They will feel, they won't be happy because the rate at which they are coming into the world, they have been destined to make it faster. They know what they are doing. You can imagine some children that are not even up to 15 or 18. They are having PhD, they are having a lot of qualifications. And you see them dabbling with this AI, this robotic, and this coding and all this. They will pieces the computer for you. What do you see about such children? Are they going to be left in the home, sitting down with their parent after they have gone through all this, and they are still having the energy to move faster? These kind of children will be demoralized, and sometimes it may be the end of their education, because some of them may be lucky to have in JS3, because of the system of education that we have the 6334 system, whereby they are at JS level. They must have been taught and understood what they are going in for when they are going to the higher level. What I ask some of my parents is that they should fix them in either Islamia or Bible study or some other trade, and then learn something, maybe computer, to keep them busy, so that they cannot be kept at home just like that. Because this system is so abruptly brought out, and it's really going to hit a lot of family, and not more family, not many family will buy into it. I'm not against it, and I'm not, because there is this issue of when a child jump some classes to go to the next classes, there is diminishing returns. It affects some of them who did not have thorough education, who did not go through the normal thing, because this AI is out now. A lot of them, when you give them questions, they go through they just ask AI to tell them what to answer. Yes, and he will answer the question for them. And that is what, when you see some jams, some all of that, there are ways they can even solve some problems in mathematics, in science, and all that. So,
but let's let Prof come in now. You've spoken expansively, and you've weighed in on both sides. Most of the reactions we're getting are from parents and guardians, and I'm sure the children are nudging them at home. Mommy and Daddy, I can't wait for another 2 years. Why? No, we have come to hear now and learn authentically from the Honorable Minister and by association, the government itself, that it's not now. It's not right now. It's a work in progress. We've also heard from Prof now that this is not a new policy. It's been in existence for a while. But what many are still asking, why now? times are financially daunting. Let's marry that to what Dr. Miriam Bello has said, Prof. Prof, take us.
Yes.
If we adopt that now, will it be better for the educational system? Is it better for governance? Or is it better for our children? These are modern day sophisticated young people who already know where they want to go and how they want to get there.
Again, let me first of all correct an impression that the student must sit at home or go and do a vocational education. We also have forgotten that between secondary school and university, there's an educational structure that is in place called A-levels. This A-levels has always been there. You can go through pre-degree, or you can go through IGMB that is mounted by Ahmadu Bello University, or go through remedial. It has been there, that normally absorbs students who don't do well in JAM, or students who some parents feel are too young to go directly into university. I did IGMB for 1 year before I wrote JAM and went to the university. So there's nobody saying that the student must sit at home, parents must keep the child at home, because there's no other structure in place as an intermediary between secondary school and the university. And so when you look at the argument that by the time the child starts primary school at the age of 5 and he finishes basic education after 9 years, and does senior secondary education, he or she is ready to go for higher tertiary education. Yes. If you finish earlier, because like we all agree that the intellectual aptitude of students, of the children that we have these days, is much higher than our own generation. And so once that student finishes earlier, there are all manner of intermediaries, international baccalaureate, IGMB, pre-degree, and all those things that can absorb those early starters, So that is one. Secondly, why now? If you listen to what the minister said, he was still a student himself when that policy came into being. He only came and saw that there are a certain number of policies, that are not being enforced because of bureaucratic negligences that have been in the system. And so, as somebody who has a legal background, it behoves on him to say, look, if the law says do this, I cannot be seen as violating the law. Let me bring it to the notice of Nigerians that there is a law that says you must be 18 before you go to university. Having said that, he has also said, based on the fact that we have not enforced this law for a very long time, it is important that we now come back to the drawing board, bring all the stakeholders, let us rethink the implications of this law against the backdrop of some of the points I'd made earlier on, so that we can now collectively agree that this is the path to follow. So it's still work in progress, as it were. And the emotions and the sentiments and all these things, we need to aggregate on top of a table. So let us see what is best for us as far as 21st century higher education in Nigeria is concerned.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Prof. So everybody is saying it's not bad. Implementation. Yes. Doctor, what do you think?
Well, it's not bad, like I said earlier. It just has its prongs. But then, if government is bringing out policy, like the prof said, it has been in existence, but people are not observing it, they are not obeying it. They can start enforcing it, but then they should give some gap.
We've been talking about what happens around us. What is happening internationally? What is the age requirement? Jennifer will let us know.
University admission policies around the world vary significantly, but one common standard is the minimum age requirement. In Nigeria, the minimum age for university admission is set for 18. This age requirement aligns with Nigeria's 6334 education system, where students typically complete secondary education by age 18. But how does this policy compare globally, and what does it mean for student success? In Nigeria, students must be 18 years old to begin university. This aligns with the policies in countries like the United Kingdom and Germany, where students typically start higher education between 18 and 19 years of age. However, in countries like the United States and India, there is greater flexibility. Many students begin at 17. Studies show that in countries with higher age requirements, such as Germany and South Korea, students often benefit from being more matured, which can lead to higher success rates. This added maturity often results in better academic performance and a smoother transition into adult responsibility. On the other hand, countries like Finland and Sweden achieve success with earlier university entry, focusing on comprehensive early childhood education. Nigeria's policy aims to strike a balance. By requiring students to be 18, the hope is to ensure they are matured enough to handle academic and social challenges. However, countries like the US and India offer more flexibility, allowing younger students who are academically prepared to enter university early. Both approaches have their strengths. So how does Nigeria measure up? Globally, there is no size-fits-all solution. Nigeria's 18-year minimum age requirement reflects a desire for structure similar to Germany and South Korea. But by learning from other nations' flexibility, Nigeria can explore ways to support gifted students or those ready for early admission. With education being the cornerstone of national development, Nigeria can continue to refine its policies, learning from the experiences of other countries. Whether the 18 years age requirement remains or evolves, one thing is clear. The goal is to equip students for success, both in the classroom and beyond.
Jennifer, for weighing into a very interesting and engaging conversation, and what the better for it, more knowledgeable, more informed. Dr. Bello, we've talked about gifted children. We do hear that their space is not shaken. They will still give them a platform to rise as far as they want to. But learning now, we wonder, were it not called education, ought we to cage learning? Ought we to cage growth and development? Because we've also acceded to the fact that this generation of young people, they don't want to be caged. They don't want to follow rules. And Richard Branson says it that you don't learn by following rules. You learn by walking on your own and then falling over, and then you rise because you've learned by experience. So with what we have on ground we're talking about, can you weigh in?
Well, we are not supposed to cage them. They are not like ours that we say, do this, don't go here, stay here, that we do. They are faster than us. Even in the class, when a teacher is not well informed or not prepared very well, the child will challenge him.
Already they are doing that?
Yes, they are doing that. That you have to get yourself prepared. Make sure you know the topic you want to treat. You must have researched very well, because by the time you get into the class, the child will embarrass you if care is not taken. And you start soliloquizing, and people will notice that you are not really prepared. And they go home even to tell their parents, the teachers that are good, and those that are not good. So in those days, it is garbage in and garbage out. Whatever we are taught is what we follow strictly. These days, while you are teaching, they will ask you questions that probably you have not even tried to know about it. So these days, everybody are really, really well prepared. So in terms of that, we cannot cage any child now. We need to give them flexibility. Let them be flexible. Let them research. Let them go through a lot of things they want to. Let them discover themselves earlier in skill acquisition and everything. Give them the opportunity. And that is why we keep on saying the best educational system is Montessori, because they will see most of the apparatus, all the learning materials, they will feel it, they will touch it.
And that,
yes, and from that, you start tailoring them to make sure that they bring their ability out, they bring their skill out. And that's where you will know that this child, if he goes further, he may be a doctor. If he goes further, he will be an architect. This is where we know. So with the age of caging them, it has passed. Government should give them opportunity to explore, opportunity to make research. Because with this that they are saying they should stay at home, we know that the gifted child has been prepared for. But how long and what kind of preparation is meant? Are they going to give them stipend? Are they going to be helping the parents? Because some parents have made their budget. Some have one child, some have two. Maybe they had the children at later age that they have already prepared for the child. Probably they've gone to the bank. Every month they have a standing order that they put before the child rises to that level. And when he got to that level, they are prepared to fix the child into the university. Now government is saying we should adhere to the policy that has been on ground before. But there was no publicity much on that policy for people to know. And when there are people who did not adhere to the policy, there were no any punishment or remorse or anything that is effective. So people have relaxed. And they thought they could go along like that since nobody checks them. There is no accountability, no checks and balance. People open university at any angle and it is approved. Even some universities, they did not get accreditation. They will still take the children to a level.
Prof, I can see that Prof is loaded.
Yes.
Prof is like, where am I? Is this my Nigeria?
It is when the children have reached certain class, they will not say they can't write exam. The NUC waging, what were they looking at? Okay. What was happening? So Doctor, we need intervention for the children to be kept at home or to be exposed to different skill. We need assistance. We want government to come in, assist our kids, take care of them, assist the parent. The economy is so biting.
Maybe give them a stipend.
We have already positioned and planned our lives. So how Doctor, it will go. So Doctor, we would allow government to set us back.
Yes, we pray. I agree with you. I feel your passion. And we agree with you. But like the Honorable Minister said yesterday in the studio, he said it's work in progress. So we are hoping that they will start with new intake from primary school. At what age are you dumping your child in school? Because if a child starts school at a year 6 months, that child will finish before 15. So at your end, Montessori, they should start that, say, a child must be 3 years before you start primary school. You know, so that we are hoping that this thing is work in progress.
3 years for primary, 3 years for KG.
It's too early.
It's 6 years.
Okay, not
6
3
years.
6 years, but
6 years for primary.
Thank you for putting me.
At 6 years, the children of today are grown.
No, yes, but if they are, what I'm just saying is that this one should use 6 years to allow this one to go and start from new intakes.
Yeah.
That way, we'll get it right.
Everybody is prepared.
Yeah, everybody is prepared. But we have people like we said yesterday, a graduate at 10 years, who is holding the world record at 10 years in 1994. We still have the Imafidon family. We have Miria, who graduated masters, who had a master's at 20 years old.
Those are the gifted ones. They still have their platform.
Exceptional children.
These are the exceptional
children.
Yes. But again, Prof, your certificate you give us, tell us, found worthy in learning and in character. Could the character aspect be the reason why the federal government is looking at this? Because a whole lot of, maybe not in private university, but cultism and other vices is big in our public universities.
Of course.
We cannot neglect that and we cannot put that aside. Children come out of the secondary school and they are lured into courts and so many other vices.
Primary, nursery.
Primary. What is that a reason? Could maturity help in coping some of these vices that we are seeing now?
What do the child psychologists say?
Okay.
It's very important. Hajia, doctor here is deals with early child education.
Yes.
Which we codify as pedagogy. What does the child psychologist say about the age of cognition of children in education? We must go to what the experts, medical experts say, that at this age, a child is able to understand, distinguish, and do certain things. And we expect that at a particular age level, the child will have reached certain forms of maturity. Again, maturity has to be contextualized in terms of our overall societal growth. Just like we have said, maturity 50 years ago was different.
Maturity now.
During the colonial period, maturity of the age of going to school was by putting your hand over your head.
Yeah.
And if it touches the ear, you were qualified. So that there was no basis, that was the only basis for maturity. But now we have so many indexes for... Now, so the experts must weigh in and tell us that in the context of today's child, maturity at an early age, at a teenage age, and adult age must be contextualized. Now, the social vices are there. The social vices are a function of society. When we were growing up, television was 6 hours. Now television is 24 hours. We've just talked about the tablets, the apps and everything.
And the myriad of things,
channels
locally and
internationally that the child is exposed to. So the external influences are so enormous. At the level of university, you cannot track them. It's practically impossible. You cannot track them because one, that is not the primary responsibility. And then secondly, by the time they come into university, when you talk about cultism, many of them have already been initiated. You know, I was Deputy Vice Chancellor of Benue State University. I knew that students were coming in already initiated, and by the time they were doing matriculation, they were assuming positions of responsibility within those cult structures. So it's a major societal problem. Drugs are there, a major societal problem. So when we put it within the context of the universities or the tertiary institutions alone, we miss the point that our wider society is involved in cultism, is involved in rituals, is involved with sexual harassment and all of those things, that we need to have that national conversation at the family level, you know, at the community level, you know, at religious level, and then we move up the ladder so that we can have a clear context.
But permit me to take our next feature. The director, you know, has been calling for it. You know that when we talk like this, we need to weigh in to what the greats, you know, geniuses did not start today. We've had them over time. And one of them was Albert Einstein. He says that you cannot tell the mind what to think. Even so much as you teach, the mind is already at work 24/7. And that fact has never been more prevalent than now with these sophisticated young people that we're calling our children, our pride and leaders of the country. But let's touch down with NTA knowledge. And this is their focus. This policy that is causing so much brouhaha. What's the future? Well, let's find out together.
Education is the process of acquiring knowledge, skills, values, and beliefs through various forms of learning, teaching, and socialization. It involves the transmission of knowledge from one generation to the next and the development of individuals to become active participants in society. The Nigerian higher education system stands at a crossroad as the traditional 18-year minimum age requirement for university admission faces scrutiny. While the country seeks to align its education sector with global standards and address the needs of its burgeoning youth population, the future of university admission hangs in the balance.
Likely, we may have the issue of going for declaration of age, which we all know at this era, there is no child born within this regime that will not have birth certificate. The Population Commission is giving birth certificate. There is no hospital that you go to that birth certificate will not be given. So the problem we are anticipating is that the parents will want to look at all means to give what we said we are looking for. In as much as the government approve it, we will try as much as possible that we follow the guidelines given to us. The adjustment is an easy thing. You will detect it in class from their behavior. There is no way it will not come out that they are not mature to the age that they are claiming.
People we met were indifferent about the subject matter and declined to talk about it. However, a few still complied. So join us as we navigate the complexities and opportunities of Nigeria's higher education landscape and explore the future of university admission in the country.
The policy to we parents is a bit challenge because if our children are finishing at the age of 16 plus and all those things, and we are now saying they should wait till 18 years, then it means we are depriving them additional 4 years to that 18 years. Automatically they will be around 24 or 25 before they finish the first degree. To me as a parent, it's not a welcome development on my side.
In my own opinion, it's a good policy because most students now entering maybe junior secondary school as of 9 years old. Before they will finish their secondary school education level, they will be around maybe 14. And then for a 14-year-old to get admission into the university, their mental capability is not enough for them to handle the condition of the university. IQ of the students might not even be high enough because some students see that maybe what they do in the secondary school is the same thing as what they do in the university, not knowing it's way different. Being sent to a place they are not familiar with, and they have to be calling, "Mommy, what should I do about this thing?" Those students have higher chance of getting influenced by peers because they are not used to the condition there, and then they just follow anybody they feel like following, not knowing the consequences of what they are doing.
Let us embrace a spirit of continuous improvement, collaboration, and forward thinking. Together, we can shape a brighter future for the Nigeria higher education and empower the next generation of leaders, innovators, and change makers.
Okay. Welcome back, and thank you so much, NTA Knowledge. Always raising the bar. Now, Doctor, I'm coming to you. Reason is the issue of moral standard comes up all the time, and we cannot neglect it.
Yeah.
Do you think parents, because I've had conversation where a parent told me this one went to day, this one, but these three will go to boarding, and I asked her why. She said they are too stubborn. I can't handle them. These three went to boarding. And from boarding straight, they think that boarding will correct a child's age. Instead of you instilling that discipline yourself, from boarding straight to university. So that child is in boarding for 3 years and waiting, I'll be a senior too. You obey the rules when you're young. I'll be senior too and I'll do the same thing. And these children don't get it. Do you think parents are instilling discipline and training their children well? Because that's where we are today. That's where we are, our moral standard.
Yeah, you are right what you're saying. Because children and parents of these days, they are the Gen Z or what you call them. They don't school their children. If a child corrects a student in the class or a pupil, parent will tie their belt and come in and say, "You are always after my baby. You don't do this, you don't do that." But education cannot go smoothly without good moral value.
Without correction.
We need to give them this good moral value. Character must be developed. They spend almost 8 hours in the school. We are like their parents. We need to be very close to them. Then the parents too, do not just throw them out. Be close to your child because he can discuss what she's supposed to discuss with you. She will discuss with an outsider and they will teach her wrong things. And you might end up regretting what you have seen. So definitely parents need to sit up, tighten our belt. This responsibility is ours. This is the right time you can tame them. They can be bent. They can be dealt with now before they become like a strong stick that you won't be able to talk to them.
True.
The moment they are grown, you can't break the stick. They will face you, confront you as if you want to have some. Yes. So, but this is the right time. We are appealing to parents. Sit up to our responsibility. Homemaking is we women. Husbands' house, they are the breadwinners. We are the people that is at home with our children. We're closer. And we should remember the kind of adage men used to say about us. If your child is good, it is a good child.
Yes, our
if
child.
the child is bad, it is the mommy's child. She looks like her mom. She resembles her mom. All her attributes are like her mom. And this is it. But parents of these days, children are not too fragile to be handled.
True.
We should please take our responsibility very high. Make the family proud.
Yes.
Sit down with them, discuss with them, be their friends. Get information from them. Even when my children were growing up, if anybody talked to them, like maybe boyfriend, I'll be asking her, who is your boyfriend? Who is this and that? If they want to be shy, I say, don't be shy.
Yes.
Talk to me, I'm your mom.
You learn biology in the school. You know how to do menstruations and whatever. So don't hide anything. Let me know whoever is visiting you. Let him come to the house. I want to see him.
I like that.
Any man that hangs around behind,
It's not for
he's
you.
not faithful. I don't want to see them. And whoever family you are following, I want to know the family. I want to see them. I want to be close to them. So moral value is very, very important because it has decay. And that is what is destroying children these days.
Thank you so
we
much,
have
Dr.
neglected
Bello.
our responsibility.
Thank you
Hand
so
it over
much,
to
Bello.
house girls and teachers.
I like that.
Which we need to sit down and do thoroughly.
Thank you, Dr. Bello. She has spoken so expansively to everyone. And ma, those days of saying that the child that is not doing well is the mother's child, it has passed. We have left it behind. It's all our children. Even though the mothers are hands-on, fathers to weigh in. Even if you come late, ask the child, ask the mother, how did that child fare? Ask the child too, how did you fare? What did your mother discuss? Fathers, no matter how busy you are, weigh in. Because when they go out there, it's not the mother's surname they'll be calling. They'll be calling the surname of the father. We'll take a break. Our third and final break on Weekend Deal. Don't go anywhere. We are still here for you. Nigerian women there, are you standing on business? Is that reality? 200 million, you say no? Come on. Anyway, Dr. Miriam Bello, we're wrapping up our conversation. What are your final words?
I had final words in terms of the 18-year-old
minimum
we've
age.
spoken. We've spoken. I have spoken. I said government should intervene, assist the children that might be affected. And in doing that, they should remember the vulnerable ones. The people living with disability, what are their take for them? We are not supposed to forget about them. And we should know that at this time, the economy is terribly bad. They should rethink very well
before implementation.
And before the proper implementation.
Eventually.
Like Prof said, get the stakeholders in various angles. And then let them sit together, synergize together.
We have 30 seconds.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Prof, somebody actually said quickly that why emphasis on age when there are so many problems confronting the educational sector?
So, Prof, 30 seconds.
It comes back to what Hajia said, that we need to refocus and re-strategize and come together. The Federal Ministry of Education needs to do a lot of soul searching. There are so many policies. The educational roadmap that they are now implementing is not very widely publicized. A lot of people don't know that there are intermediaries between secondary school and actual university. So all those information needs to be put out there in the open space so that we can parents and students can be better educated on this matter. But importantly, we need to have a full conversation on the philosophy of education in this country. Last time we did that was 1969.
Why? We need to rejig, retweak, reorganize, strategize, and all stakeholders must come on board.